So how are we going to regulate or not regulate AI? That's the subject of today's video, and this is the headlines from Fox News. Breaking: Trump to roll out executive order this week to federalize AI regulation and block state involvement in approvals. Okay. We also have this from the Financial Times. Donald Trump said he will this week announce an executive order that establishes a single federal rule for regulating AI as the president seeks to maintain U.S. dominance in the technology. Let's see what Trumpers actually said today. There must be only one rule book if we are going to continue to lead in AI. We are beating all countries, in all caps also, I guess, at this point in the race, but that won't last long, okay? If we're going to have 50 states, many of them bad actors, are we saying many of our states are bad actors, I guess is what we're saying, involved in rules and approval process, there can be no doubt about this, all right? AI will be destroyed in its infancy, it's according to Trump. I'll be doing a one rule executive order this week. You can't expect a company to get 50 approvals every time they want to do something. That will never work. Huh. So according to Trump, I guess we're getting rid of states' rights. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know how this is going to fly with his base. Also, the AI situation, I think, is going to be a political issue going forward as more regular people realize what we're talking about here. And in fact, it's interesting because you're even going to get pushback from Republicans, right? People in his own party. All this language from Trump. I mean, the funniest thing when he's like talking about the one rule, my mind really went to like Lord of the Rings, like the one ring to rule them all. It's like, are you forging the one ring over there, Trump? It's like seriously what I was thinking about. Like he's building the his one ring, one rule AI in Mordor, I suppose, Mount Doom or Mount Doom Trumpy, I guess you could call it. Okay, so what else we got? This is from DeSantis. Have a listen to this.
We're in a period of economic uncertainty for this country. I think if you look around, so much of this it's been driving the stock market and all this is basically these big tech companies, the Magnificent Seven, and it's all about artificial intelligence, which, by the way, it's a whole nother conversation. We're going to be rolling out some good policies on AI. There's some people saying, well, the federal government should just take over and not let the states do anything. I reject that. I mean, I think, we have a responsibility to stand up for you. So, for example, I think it's wrong if they come in to build a data center and then charge the normal customers higher for electricity. We're not going to let that happen. That's not right. I think it's wrong if they are using your likeness and putting out, false information under you, because sometimes it's hard to even tell, it is. I think it's wrong if things are targeting children, particularly for sexual exploitation. And we've seen.
And so he talks about a lot of stuff, which is very interesting. So I'm not a fan of DeSantis, but doesn't mean he's wrong in this situation. That's why I always have an honest conversation with you guys. That's the governor of Florida there. And I think he might sort of ride this issue and try to run on this, which I think is honestly is a winning issue for many, people to come out and say, hey, I'm going to stand up for you and your rights. He actually put out a Bill of Rights thing for AI, which we'll talk about in a moment here. There's a lot of issues that go on with this stuff that we don't talk enough about, actually. From Bloomberg, Trump wants to power the AI boom with coal, gas, and nuclear energy. Okay. But wind and solar technology he's attacked could add power to the grid faster, more cheaply, right? Okay, so point being, if you are going to do this AI stuff, like why aren't we also building out energy that's sustainable, clean, right? Be it wind, be it solar, but obviously Trump's in the back pocket of, oil and all those kind of people like that. Nothing shocking here. Trump always attacking windmills, and he hates that, and he'll talk about birds and whales, for real. And, this is the headline just a few minutes ago. It says, Trump ban on wind energy projects ruled illegal by U.S. judge. So he's trying to ban wind stuff, but I guess that ban's not going to hold. And I'm sure they're going to fight that stuff in court. This is where we're at in USA. It's a clown show every day. It's hard to go through everything. But I do want to bring up the energy concerns because I think that will be a big one that regular people you'll see in your bill is like, the heck? There's a new data set that went in. My energy rates go up, and you'll see it in dollars and cents. Ted Lieu here, he says Trump's one rule executive order on AI will fail. Okay, executive orders cannot create law. Only Congress can do so. That's why Trump tried twice and failed to put AI preemption into law. Courts will rule against the EO, that means executive order here, because it will largely be based on a bill that failed. Well, we'll see. I mean, Trump does a lot of stuff like this. I'll just say this: Trump's in the back pocket too of big tech, right? Basically, you give Trump a bunch of money and you give him some crazy script to read, and he'll read it or he'll tweet it. For example, Elon Musk, this is what Elon's tweeting out these days with him and his fanboys. AI pictures of Elon dunking a basketball, right? And then his feed is filled with all this stuff. And then lately, too, Elon's been attacking the EU for being, essentially a union of countries. And it's kind of funny how in one situation, the Trump people are like, oh, we definitely need a strong centralized power, say the United States, right? Unify all the states. One rule, right? And then at the same turn, it's like, well, if it goes against me, no, we got to break up everything. That's who these people are. And also today, Musk was tweeting this out. Now we're talking about data centers in space, which is something they've talked about before. And I just want you to listen. This is actually a discussion today.
I mean, over time, at Google, we are always proud of taking moonshots. You mentioned Waymo earlier. That's been over a decade in the making. We're working on quantum computing. In that spirit, one of our moonshots is to how do we one day have data centers in space so that we can better harness the energy from the sun, that is 100 trillion times more energy than what we produce in all of Earth today. So we want to put these data centers in space, closer to the sun, and I think we are taking our first step in 27. We'll send tiny racks of machines and have them in satellites, test them out, and then start scaling from there. But there's no doubt to me that a decade or so away, we'll be viewing it as a more normal way to build data centers.
Well, and so much of this, as you say, it's a normal way of life for.
I don't even know what normal is anymore. Okay, so I always have to say this when we talk about these issues, guys. I'm not against technology. I'm not against advancements. I just like to talk about this stuff in a realistic way. So data centers in space. Actually, it's funny because my wife always asks about this question because before, I think it was like a year ago or so, they were two, Elon Musk and Sundar were tweeting each other about this, situation. Hey, could we build data centers in space? And all the hype was up because basically whatever someone brings up something experimental or futuristic, Musk then start tweeting about it nonstop. There's so many problems with this, and I want to hear from engineers in our community who are way more knowledgeable of this stuff than myself. I'll just give you a basic rundown. I think you're going to have trouble with heat dissipation up there. We're probably a couple of decades away. Also, it's expensive to launch these things, up there. So I think at the moment it's cost prohibitive, and then you probably have data transfer speeds, which may improve. There's a bunch of issues. They've even tried to be pitching data centers on the moon, which I made a video about on before, but all these stuff is pipe dreams in my opinion. And then the other issue, of course, is do we even want this stuff? Because at the moment, I guess the talk is we're going to just build data centers everywhere. And that's where all the jobs and the investments going into to build these data centers to replace you. I'm having a hard time saying data center these days. But it's crazy because I don't think people are thinking about this long-term enough. And that's why I mentioned that this could be a political issue going forward if you just lay it out to people like, hey, these are the dangers of data centers and too much AI. The crazy thing about it also today, and there's a lot going on with the AI stuff, is Trump always likes to talk about how he's, strong against China and going to push back or whatever. I guess now we're allowing NVIDIA to sell the more advanced chips, the H200s, to China. That's the news just now. It says, just in, Donald Trump has decided to let NVIDIA export its advanced H200 chip to China. The U.S. president also said other chip makers would be allowed to export advanced semiconductors. That's interesting. So this looks like a major concession by the Trump people with negotiations with China, because all I say, oh, no, we're going to advance and be the best in AI in the world, et cetera, not let you get our chips. But I mean, evidently we are. I guess we changed on that. This is what Trump says. He's tweeting it out too. He says, I have informed President Xi of China that the United States will allow NVIDIA to ship its H200 products to approved customers in China, okay? and other countries under conditions that allow for continued strong national security, meaning that Trump's getting some sort of benefit, build his ballroom or whatever, therefore he's doing it. Or, President Xi promised him an Instagram photo. It is that stupid, but this is what Trump's writing. President Xi responded positively. 25% will be paid to the United States of America. Okay. This policy will support, you know what? He might be talking about he's going to try to grift off of these sales. I think that's what we're referring to. So meaning that, okay, NVIDIA, I'll let you sell it to China, even though it goes against the policy that I was talking about before. But if you are going to do it, at least give me a cut. So I guess it's 25%. This policy will support American jobs, building more data centers, supposedly, I bet. Strengthen U.S. manufacturing, building said data centers. It's all about that. And benefit American taxpayers by building more data centers, right? The Biden administration forced our great companies to spend billions of dollars building degraded products, according to Trump, that nobody wanted, a terrible idea that slowed innovation and hurt American worker, okay? That era is over. We will protect national security, create American... Hey, talking about jobs a bunch here. NVIDIA's U.S. customers are already moving forward with their incredible, highly advanced Blackwell chips, and soon, Rubin, neither, which are part of this deal. My administration will always put America first. Department of Commerce is finalizing the details, and the same approach will apply to AMD, Intel, and other great American companies. Make America great again. So that's what Trump's tweeting out. As long as, I guess, he gets a cut, go ahead and do with it. And as I told you guys before in a prior video, there's talk of the Freedom Cities, the Crystal Cities, or the Trump Industrial Parks, whatever name you pick. They're still working that out. We'll see if we ever see anything of this. This is DeSantis in response. Pretty interesting against the governor of Florida. An executive order doesn't/can't preempt state legislative action. Congress could theoretically preempt states through legislation. The problem is that Congress hasn't approved any coherent regulatory scheme, but instead just wanted to block states from doing anything for 10 years, which would be an AI amnesty. I doubt Congress has the votes to pass this because it is so unpopular with the public. So DeSantis was also tweeting out this thing, which is really interesting, AI Bill of Rights. And like I said, I'm no fan of DeSantis, but I do acknowledge when, hey, I can agree with people even if I don't like them that much. I always tell the same thing because this is what real conversations are, right? Take a look at this stuff. And AI Bill of Rights, like I said, I think this could be a campaign issue going forward that we all be talking about. As AI continues to develop, we're committed to safeguarding Florida's rights, data, tax dollars, and way of life. Today, I'm proud to announce new legislation that will establish an artificial Bill of Rights in Florida, as well as legislation that will protect our citizens and communities from potential harmful effects of hyperscale AI data centers. He's got a long list of stuff. Let me just kind of read the highlights. Protect ratepayers, protect taxpayers, protect local control, protect Florida's water resources, protect natural Florida. He'll talk about people, AI center or whatever, using your name in image likeness. He'd mentioned before in the speech, which I think is a real thing. Even today, and people hate it when I tell you the truth, but I'm telling you the truth. There's many, people out there will take photos or video of real people, real politicians, manipulate them. And I got a real problem with that because I think this is going to create so many issues in society for any number of ways, not just politics. So take in a politics situation, what if I make a fake video of DeSantis saying, that he loves Trump and blah, blah, blah. Or if I make fake videos of Trump doing, whatever acts, and people show this stuff on their channels, and you guys eat that stuff up. That's really popular on YouTube, and it's seriously, you see it, and people hate it when I mention it, but it's just the truth. People love fake stuff these days. It's a weird thing, and I guess if you want to give people the one, I guess you can go that route. But we're gonna be in a time when no one will know what's real anymore. Right. And it'll be hard to trust anything. It already is tough right now. So for me, that's a really big one. Protect your name, image, likeness. Here in Korea, that's actually very strict on that kind of stuff. So for example, they were passing laws because I guess there was people who would take pictures of their schoolmates, right, at school. I can't remember if it was high school or college or something like that, but whatever. It could be your coworkers, just people around you. And then putting, people's faces on, we'll just say adult content, and then spreading said videos around or selling said photos. I'm sure you guys can get all kinds of problems with this. And so the idea would be, hey, I have a right to my image and you can't manipulate it in that kind of way. And I think that's really important, especially in this day and age when you can fake voices now really easily. He's got also like, say, ensure data inputted to AI is secure and private, like privacy concerns. Another one, limit insurance companies from using AI for insurance claims. Yeah, it's like all these issues that you want to get involved with. So for example, require that AI cannot be used as the sole determination in adjusting or denying a claim. I get that. I get what he's getting with that, right? So that's basically a person has to decide, not just an AI. I could be on board with that kind of thing. I hadn't even thought about that one. And you can pass legislation for AI shouldn't make decisions on any number of issues. So hey, I'm with you on that one. Provide parental controls for minors, which allow parents to access conversation a child has with their large language model. That's okay. So I get where they're going with that one. I'd have to really think about that one more. And I know I'll just give you some examples. Let's say, just for example, a parent is abusing a kid, for example, okay? And then a kid's like asking the AI for legal help or something like that. And then the parent's like, oh, I have rights to look at everything my kid is. That's and I'll full disclosure, I'm not a lawyer. So, the rights of minors and privacy is a whole thing, which is, whole other set of law. But that was the first thing that popped in my mind. But then also in the same regard, you could say, hey, what if a kid is doing something bad, going to hurt other people? The parent should have access to, said conversations or whatever. There's all sorts of issues with this stuff. I mean, a lot of it has to, privacy is a big thing. Like even just for example, I'm married. It doesn't necessarily mean I want my wife reading through all of my text, all my emails all day, every day. Although full disclosure, she does look at pretty much everything that I can. She knows my passwords and all everything. So there's that. But that's a different circumstances. But just okay. How about this? Don't do anything that you shouldn't be doing. How about that? But the minor stuff though, it does matter a lot. Deepfakes he mentions as well. Here's another one. Prohibit any state or local government agency from utilizing DeepSeek or any Chinese created AI tools. Oh, that's an interesting one. So that would also involve like a TikTok and stuff like that. So you could certainly debate that one. I can see where you can go with that. So you could say, the Chinese government is spying on our people. We don't want that. Because they may have different rules on privacy, these things. I can see that. Another one, require a notice of consumers when they're interacting with AI company chatbots. That's a good point as well. So if you go to a website and you think you're talking to a person, but you're not, I'm kind of into this stuff. So again, I'm not a fan of DeSantis, but I think a number of politicians could pick up on these AI Bill of Rights. There's another one. I gotta go through this stuff. Prohibit entities from providing licensed therapy. That's a quote, license in quotes, or mental health counseling through artificial intelligence. I can see that. I can see that one also. So if you don't know, there's a lot of young people out there. And I mentioned the example of, say, a kid being abused by their parent and they need help, via Google something, do a chat bot. How are we going to treat that sort of issue? And then will you have to make a disclaimer, I'm not, licensed, provider. This could be the same for medical advice. And then you get in some really tricky issues. There's a lot of thorny stuff with, say, medical advice, and that's a very contentious issue in the USA. It is. But I'll also be frank with you guys, like, when it comes to when you get sick or anything happens to you, you always Google what food is good to eat, what vitamins should I take, blah, 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 blah. Right? Like that's a natural thing that people do. And then you go see a doctor. So that's always the best advice on, YouTube or whatever. Just go talk to your doctor about such things. But our first reaction, yes, is to Google everything for anything. And this is for any kind of issue here. Prohibit companies from selling or sharing personal identifying information with third parties. Yeah, but I think that those kind of rules are in other stuff. Well, there's a lot to talk about with these things. So anyway, that's what's going on with AI. Trump wants to block something like, say, an AI Bill of Rights, or a better way to put it, he wants to have the one rule ring/thing to rule them all. So I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.